Imagine this. You walk into a room and within seconds, the air changes. Conversations stutter. Smiles stiffen. Eyes flicker toward you, then dart away. No one says anything outright, but you feel it, the unspoken shift, the silent recoil. You weren't rude. You didn't interrupt. You didn't even speak. Yet somehow, your mere presence disrupted everything. Why? What is it about you that makes people uneasy? That makes them pull back, retreat into themselves, or suddenly become guarded? You've been called intense before. Too serious. Overthinker. But the truth is, you weren't trying to intimidate anyone. You were just listening closely, observing, speaking only when you had something real to say. So why does that feel like a threat? Here's the unsettling paradox. The more authentic you become, the more the world reacts as if you've done something wrong. The deeper you go into your own truth, the more others flinch, not because you're dangerous, but because you're honest. And honesty, in a world built on masks, is the most disruptive force of all. Carl Jung called this phenomenon the shadow, the parts of ourselves we bury, the truths we refuse to face. But what if the real issue isn't your intensity? What if it's theirs? What if the discomfort they feel around you isn't about you at all, but about what you reflect back to them? Think about it. When was the last time someone accused you of being too much simply because you asked a question they didn't want to answer? How often have you been labeled intimidating for nothing more than refusing to play along with shallow social games? Why is it that the quieter you become, the louder their discomfort grows? This isn't paranoia. It's psychology. And it reveals something far more profound about human nature, something most people will never admit but feel in their bones every time they're around someone who refuses to perform, pretend, or shrink. So let's ask the real question. What if the problem isn't that you're too much, but that everyone else has been trained to be too little? The answer lies in a force far more powerful than charisma, louder than words, and more dangerous than confrontation. It's the silent energy you carry, the one that speaks before you do, the one that unsettles without explanation. And it's time you understood it. The moment you stop performing, the second you refuse to laugh at empty jokes, nod at hollow opinions, or shrink your presence to make others comfortable, you expose an unspoken rule of human society. Most people would rather live a lie than face the discomfort of truth. This isn't an accident. It's by design. From childhood, we're conditioned to equate belonging with compliance. We learn to dull our edges, soften our voices, and mirror the emotions of those around us, not because it's natural, but because it's safe. The German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche saw this clearly when he wrote, "Insanity in individuals is something rare, but in groups, parties, nations, and epochs, it is the rule." What he meant was this: the collective fears the individual who thinks, really thinks, for themselves. Carl Jung took this further with his concept of individuation, the process of becoming your true, undivided self. But here's the catch: the more you integrate your shadow, the rejected, unacknowledged parts of your psyche, the more your energy radiates, something most people spend their lives running from: self-awareness. And self-awareness is contagious. When you stand in a room fully present, undiluted, and unapologetically awake, you become a walking mirror. Those who haven't faced their own depths will see their own reflection in you, their insecurities, their half-lived lives, their buried regrets, and they will flinch. Not because you harmed them, but because you revealed them. This is why society labels deep thinkers as intense, truth-tellers as disruptive, and those who refuse to perform as cold. It's not criticism, it's self-defense. Jean-Paul Sartre captured this brilliantly: hell is other people. But what he really meant was, hell is the part of yourself you see reflected in others when you're not ready to face it. So ask yourself, why do people reward conformity but punish authenticity? Why is normal so often synonymous with unconscious? And why does the world feel so threatened by those who refuse to wear masks? The answer lies in a psychological truth most will never admit: the majority of human behavior is not driven by choice, but by fear, the fear of being seen, truly seen, for who they are. And you're the living proof that there's another way to exist. Which means you were never the problem. You were just the mirror. The tragedy is not that people fear depth, it's that they don't realize this fear is manufactured. A silent, systemic conditioning that begins the moment a child is first scolded for asking too many questions or told to stop being so sensitive. What happens when an entire society learns to equate fitting in with survival? You get a world where conversations become rituals, empty exchanges where people recite scripts instead of speaking truths, where "how are you" is a greeting, not a question. Relationships turn transactional, based on what can be gained, not what can be shared. Intimacy is replaced with performance. Genius goes unnurtured because original thought is disruptive, and schools reward memorization, not critical thinking. Leaders are selected for charisma, not wisdom, leaving the most perceptive voices silenced on the margins. The French philosopher Michel Foucault called this the insidious leniency of power, how systems control people not through force, but by convincing them this is just how things are. And the most devastating consequence? People start policing themselves. They laugh when they don't find things funny. They nod when they disagree. They stay in hollow relationships and unfulfilling careers because the terror of being seen as different outweighs the agony of living a lie. This is why your presence disrupts. When you listen deeply, you expose how rarely others actually hear each other. Speak with intention. You highlight the meaningless chatter filling the silence. A refuse to perform, you reveal how many people are still trapped in their roles. Neuroscience confirms this tension. Studies on cognitive dissonance show that when faced with behavior that contradicts their own, most people don't reflect, they reject. Your authenticity doesn't just make them uncomfortable. It threatens their entire self-concept. So they label you. Too intense equals I'm not ready to think that deeply. Intimidating equals you don't seek my approval, and that unsettles me. Overthinker equals I've never questioned my own beliefs. But here's what they never say aloud. Your existence proves mine doesn't have to be this small. And that realization, that's the most dangerous truth of all. The first lie you must unlearn is this: you have to choose between being accepted and being whole. History's most transformative figures, from Socrates to Nietzsche, from Emily Dickinson to Frida Kahlo, were not loved in their time. They were feared, exiled, ridiculed, not because they were wrong, but because they refused to trade their truth for belonging. Your path won't require martyrdom, but it will demand something far more radical: the courage to be misunderstood. The counterintuitive truths of unshakable presence. 1. Stop asking permission to exist. Oh, every time you soften your voice, suppress a thought, or laugh at a joke that isn't funny, you reinforce the illusion that depth must be earned. Oh, practice this instead. Speak slightly slower than feels natural. The weight of your words will force space where shallow dialogue cannot survive. 2. Let them misinterpret you. Oh, Viktor Frankl wrote, between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. Oh, when someone labels you intense, that space is your battleground. Smile, not to placate, but to silently acknowledge, you're not reacting to me. You're reacting to what I awaken in you. 3. Become a selective mirror. Oh, most people use conversation like a shield. When met with depth, they'll deflect with humor, change subjects, or turn hostile. Oh, master the art of non-reactive presence. Hold eye contact 1 second longer than comfortable. Answer superficial questions with unexpected sincerity. Watch how quickly masks crumble. 4. Build a sanctuary of one. Oh, the 13th century poet Rumi warned, be a lamp unto yourself. Oh, create rituals that anchor you in your truth. Morning pages, solitary walks, or simply sitting in silence until the noise of others' expectations fades. 5. Rewire your definition of power. Oh, modern society confuses volume with strength, likability with leadership. Oh, study those who changed the world through quiet conviction. Mandela's 27 silent years in prison, Tesla's solitary breakthroughs, Emily Bronte writing Wuthering Heights in obscurity. Oh, their secret? They measured influence not in applause, but in irreversible impact. The alchemy of loneliness. Yes, you will lose people, but ask yourself, were they ever truly seeing you, or just the version of you they could tolerate? The French existentialist Albert Camus wrote, the only way to deal with an unfree world is to become so absolutely free that your very existence is an act of rebellion. This is your rebellion: to think when others scroll, to pause when others rush, to see when others glance, not as a performance but as your natural state of being. Here is the secret no one has ever told you. The reason you've always felt like an outsider is not because you don't belong, it's because you were meant to belong differently. Carl Jung called it individuation, the journey toward becoming who you truly are, beyond all masks and expectations. But what he didn't say outright is this: the price of wholeness is exile from the herd. And that exile is not your failure, it's your initiation. The paradox of the unseen architect. History's most transformative minds were never celebrated in their time. Van Gogh sold one painting in his lifetime. Kafka begged for his work to be burned. Emily Dickinson's poetry was discovered only after her death. Why? Because truth-tellers don't fit into the world, they create new worlds. Your discomfort, your sense of being too much, your inability to play the games everyone else seems to master, these aren't flaws. They're the fingerprints of a consciousness that refuses to be domesticated. The sacred assignment of the different ones. 1. You are the unconscious world's wake-up call. Oh, when people call you intense, what they're really saying is, you make me aware of my own numbness. Oh, your presence alone forces others to confront the questions they've been avoiding. Why am I living this way? What am I afraid to admit? Who would I be if I stopped performing? 2. Your loneliness is spiritual preparation. Oh, the Persian poet Rumi wrote, the wound is the place where the light enters you. Oh, every time you've been excluded, every moment you've felt misunderstood, those were not rejections. They were the universe carving out space in you for a wisdom that can't be learned, only earned through solitary transformation. 3. You don't find your people, you attract them. Oh, the deeper you go into your truth, the more you become a living signal flare, visible only to those who speak your soul's language. Oh, they will find you. Not in crowds, but in quiet corners. Not through small talk, but through the unspoken recognition of fellow travelers who've also wandered in the wilderness. The last illusion to shatter. The greatest lie you've been told is that belonging means being like everyone else. The truth? Real belonging happens when you finally stop betraying yourself to fit in. The German poet Hölderlin wrote, "But where the danger is, also grows the saving power." Your entire life, you've been taught that your depth is dangerous. To your relationships, your career, your peace. But what if it's the exact opposite? What if your intensity isn't a curse, but the very thing this sleeping world needs most? The invitation. One day, maybe today, maybe years from now, you will realize every time someone told you to be less, they were really saying, I don't know how to be more. Every accusation of overthinking was a confession of underliving. Every label slapped on you, too sensitive, too serious, too much, was never about you at all. It was the sound of a soul knocking from within someone else's prison, begging for the courage you already possess. So the question isn't, why do I feel so different? It's, what if my difference is the whole point? And when you finally answer that, when you stop apologizing for the weight of your presence, the depth of your mind, the fire of your silence, you'll understand why the path always felt lonely. You weren't walking away from the world. You were walking toward the self you were always meant to become. Now breathe, and let the world adjust to you for once.